In the dim glow of a flickering kitchen light, Marcus Hale stepped through the creaky back door of his old family home, his orange prison jumpsuit still clinging to his frame like a badge of shame. The air was thick with the scent of stale grease and neglect, and his heart pounded as he scanned the room for the one face that had kept him alive through 5 long years behind bars. There she was, his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, standing by the sink with a broom in her tiny hands, her pink shirt torn at the sleeve. She turned slowly, her wide eyes meeting his, but before joy could spark between them, Marcus's gaze dropped to her exposed arm. Red welts, fresh and angry, dotted her skin like a cruel constellation, each one a mark of pain inflicted by hands that should have protected her. The world seemed to freeze in that instant. The kettle whistling on the stove went silent in his mind. The distant hum of traffic outside vanished, and Marcus felt a chill grip his soul, knowing that the real prison had been waiting for him right here, in the home he once called safe. Soter Marcus had always been a man built for battle, his broad shoulders and steady gaze forged in the fires of military service. As a young Marine, he'd deployed to Afghanistan twice, leading his squad through ambushes and laced roads with a calm that earned him the nickname Iron Hale. But life back stateside had unraveled faster than a frayed rope. A bar fight gone wrong, defending a buddy from a group of thugs, had landed him in court on assault charges. The judge, unmoved by his service record, sentenced him to 5 years for what the prosecution called unprovoked violence. Marcus knew the truth. It was self-defense. But the system didn't care about nuances when the victim was the son of a local politician. Prison had stripped him of everything: his freedom, his pride, and worst of all, his time with Lily. Her mother, Sarah, had divorced him while he was inside, citing abandonment, and remarried a man named Derek, a slick real estate agent with a smile that hid a temper like a storm cloud. Marcus had received letters from Lily, scribbled in crayon, but they grew fewer as the years passed, each one a lifeline that frayed a little more. Todo now, standing in that kitchen, the weight of his release papers crumpled in his pocket. Marcus felt the room spin. Lily dropped the broom, its clatter echoing like a gunshot, and rushed toward him, but she winced as she moved, her arm brushing against her side. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread in the heavy silence. Marcus knelt, pulling her close, but his fingers hovered over those marks, cigarette burns, he realized with a surge of nausea, perfectly round and scabbed over in places. The arrow of rage pointed straight to the man who'd just entered the room behind him. Derek, frozen in the doorway, his face paling as he realized who the intruder was. Sarah emerged from the hallway, her eyes widening in shock, but it was the collective freeze that hit hardest, the neighbors peeking through windows, the social worker who'd been called earlier that day, all of them paralyzed by the revelation unfolding in this rundown suburban kitchen in Atlanta, Georgia. Satya, the story of Marcus Hale's return, wasn't just about a father and daughter. It was a tale of redemption buried under layers of doubt and failure. A man underestimated by everyone, including himself. As he held Lily, memories flooded back like scenes from a war-torn battlefield. He'd enlisted at 18, fresh out of high school in a small Georgia town, driven by a need to prove himself beyond the shadow of his alcoholic father. Boot camp had broken him down and rebuilt him stronger, teaching him discipline and the art of survival. His first deployment in 2010 had been a baptism by fire, patrolling the rugged hills of Helmand Province, where every shadow could hide a Taliban fighter. Marcus had saved lives there, pulling a wounded comrade from a burning Humvee under heavy fire, earning a Bronze Star for valor. But heroism didn't pay the bills back home. After his honorable discharge, he struggled with civilian life, the nightmares of war keeping him up at night, leading to that fateful bar incident. Such a prison had been his second war, a concrete jungle where alliances shifted like sand. Marcus kept his head down, working in the laundry and taking online courses in mechanics, dreaming of the day he'd rebuild his life with Lily. He'd heard whispers from inmates about abusive step-parents, stories that made his blood boil, but he never imagined it would hit so close. Now, as Derek stammered excuses, "She fell, it's nothing." Marcus's military training kicked in. He didn't lash out. Instead, he assessed the situation like a recon mission. The house was in disarray, peeling wallpaper, empty beer cans scattered like spent shells, and Lily's clothes threadbare. Sarah looked thinner, her eyes shadowed by fear, a far cry from the vibrant woman he'd married. "What happened here?" Marcus asked, his voice low and steady, but inside, a storm brewed. Chacha, the tension rose as the evening unfolded, the kitchen becoming a pressure cooker of unspoken accusations. Derek, sensing the shift, puffed up his chest, his real estate blazer ill, fitting over his paunch. "You're not welcome here, convict," he snarled, stepping forward with false bravado. Marcus ignored him, focusing on Lily, who clung to his leg like a lifeline. She whispered about the bad nights. When Derek's temper flared after losing a deal, how he'd grab her arm and press the lit end of his cigarette to her skin as punishment for spilling milk or crying too loud. Each word was a dagger, twisting in Marcus's gut. Sarah averted her eyes, guilt etched in her features. She'd known, but fear had silenced her. The neighbors, drawn by the commotion, gathered outside, their whispers building like a gathering storm. One called the police, another Child Protective Services. Marcus felt the weight of underestimation pressing down. To them, he was just an ex-con, a liability, not the hero who'd once stormed enemy strongholds. But doubt had always been Marcus's shadow. In the Marines, superiors had questioned his youth during his first tour, underestimating the skinny kid from Georgia. He'd proven them wrong in a midnight raid on a Taliban outpost, where his quick thinking turned a potential massacre into a victory. Prison guards had dismissed him as another broken veteran, but he'd earned their respect by mediating disputes without violence. Now facing Derek, Marcus channeled that hidden strength. "Step outside," he said calmly, leading the way to the backyard, where the fading sun cast long shadows over overgrown grass. Derek followed, smirking, thinking he could bully his way out. But as they squared off, Marcus didn't fight with fists, he fought with words, recounting Lily's stories in detail, his voice unwavering. Derek's facade cracked, sweat beading on his forehead. As Marcus revealed, he'd already contacted his parole officer en route, who advised recording everything. The conflict escalated when Derek lunged, his fist swinging wildly. Marcus dodged with the grace of a trained soldier, restraining him with an arm lock that pinned him to the ground without causing harm. "This ends now," Marcus growled, his grip firm but controlled. Sarah burst out, tears streaming, confessing she'd tried to leave, but Derek had threatened her job, her custody. The police arrived then, sirens piercing the night, their lights flashing like strobe grenades. Officers, recognizing Marcus from his military record, pulled up on their database, listened as he presented the evidence photos he'd snapped on his cheap burner phone of Lily's arms, her tearful testimony. Derek was cuffed and led away, protesting innocence, but the marks spoke louder than lies. As the night deepened, the story took a turn toward revelation. In the quiet aftermath, with Lily asleep on the couch under a blanket, Sarah confided in Marcus. "He wasn't always like this," she said, but Marcus knew better. Digging through old mail on the kitchen table, he found letters from Derek's ex-wife, hidden away, warnings about his abusive past, ignored by Sarah in her desperation for stability. It was a twist that redefined everything. Derek wasn't just a bad stepfather, he was a serial abuser, evading justice through charm and connections. Marcus's secret past as a military intelligence analyst surfaced then. He'd honed skills in gathering intel, skills that now helped him uncover Derek's history. A quick call to an old Marine buddy in law enforcement revealed outstanding warrants in another state for similar offenses. The audience, the neighbors, the authorities, saw Marcus not as a prisoner, but as a protector, his hidden strength shining through. The rising action built to a crescendo in the days that followed. Marcus, staying in a motel on parole terms, fought for custody, facing skepticism from social workers who viewed his record as a red flag. "You're a felon," one said bluntly during a hearing, underestimating the man before her. But Marcus's resolve was ironclad. He enrolled in anger management classes voluntarily, secured a job at a local auto shop using his prison, learned mechanics skills, and volunteered at a veterans center, rebuilding his life brick by brick. Lily's therapy sessions revealed more horrors: emotional manipulation, forced chores like cleaning the house alone, but also her unwavering love for her father. Tension peaked during the custody trial, where Derek's lawyer painted Marcus as unstable, dredging up war stories twisted into tales of violence. The courtroom hummed with doubt, the judge's gavel a ticking bomb. Ta-ta. Then came the powerful twist. On the stand, Marcus revealed a secret he'd buried deep during his last deployment. He'd been captured briefly by insurgents, enduring torture that left invisible scars. It wasn't in his official record, classified, but a declassified letter from his commanding officer, presented as evidence, detailed how Marcus had escaped and led a rescue team back, saving 6 lives. This hidden past redefined him, not as a broken veteran, but as a resilient hero. The courtroom froze, much like that kitchen moment, as the judge read the letter aloud. Derek's facade shattered completely when his ex-wife testified remotely, exposing a pattern of abuse that mirrored Lily's suffering. The reveal sent shockwaves. Marcus wasn't the villain, he was the redeemer, his imprisonment a tragic detour on a path of justice. Ta-da. In the emotionally resonant conclusion, custody was granted to Marcus, with Sarah agreeing to co-parenting under supervision. They moved to a small apartment near the Veterans Center, where Lily began to heal, her arms scarring over as symbols of survival. Marcus taught her self-defense basics, not with aggression, but with empowerment, watching her bloom like a flower after rain. The community, once frozen in judgment, rallied around them. Fundraisers for therapy, job offers for Marcus. He found purpose in advocating for abused children, speaking at local events about spotting signs of harm, his voice carrying the weight of experience. As father and daughter walked hand in hand through a park, the sun setting in a blaze of orange like his old jumpsuit, Marcus felt awe at life's twists. He'd returned not just to see his daughter, but to save her, proving that hidden strength can thaw even the coldest freezes. And there you have it, folks. The incredible story of Marcus Hale. A man who turned imprisonment into redemption, doubt into triumph. What would you do if you discovered such horror in your own home? Have you ever faced a moment that redefined your life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one. If this tale of justice and heroism gripped you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe for more cinematic stories that dive deep into the human spirit. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting for what's right.